Hey guys, Chris from the Inspired Life podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. And, I'm sure you've heard the term analysis paralysis, basically overanalyzing something and not just getting to it. And I want to talk a little bit about this today and how crippling this can be and how really dangerous it can be. Because of course you need to look at the numbers. You need to look at, the possible things that might happen. But what I've found is that the analysis that is required for most decisions, even really big decisions, is not so great. I mean, we really don't need to be thinking about most things. I'm not talking about everything, but most day-to-day decisions don't need that much thought. You can, real simply, you can set a timer for 10 minutes. You can get a piece of paper, you can get a pen, and write 2 columns, pros and cons, and really quickly go through. And sometimes you don't even have to do that. Doing pros and cons tends to get our rational brain involved, and a lot of times the right decision for us is the one that feels right. And I know even in sales, I've been listening to Brian Tracy a lot recently. If you haven't heard him, he's awesome, very motivating, and he talks about how sales, and sales is anything, whether you're a salesperson or a business owner or even just trying to convince your spouse or your kids of something, you're selling. You're trying to portray, or not portray, you're trying to convey, that's the right word, you're trying to convey your thought on a matter, and you're trying to get somebody else to buy into that thought, whether that's to just change their opinion or to make a purchase. And the big thing in sales is that people make decisions based on emotions, and they look for evidence, meaning factual evidence, to back up their decisions. And when you are analyzing something to death, whether that's a decision, do I do this with my business, or do I do this with my home life, or what do I do? And you just analyze it to death, you're kind of limiting your body's ability to be intuitive. And I think really more effective is doing things like meditation, and that doesn't have to be sitting cross-legged or anything like that and chanting ohms, although if that's your thing, go for it. It can be, walking in nature or doing a workout or going on a walk in the neighborhood, something to just get back in touch with who you are and making that decision. And the next step, the next thing I want to talk about is something that I absolutely am very passionate about, and that's the concept of ready, fire, aim. And that, a lot of things in life that we are considering doing, we have absolutely zero idea whether or not they're actually going to work. And sometimes we just have to do it. So you get ready, you fire, you do it, and you see where you land, and then you re-aim, and then you fire again. And it's such a valuable thing. It's such an underutilized skill. I think a lot of people struggle with this, and I think I'm going to really point the finger at the school system. And I know it's changing, but a lot of the school system is you have to get the right answer. And if you don't get the right answer, you're embarrassed in front of the class, and you really, trying new things and risking potential failure is something that kind of gets beaten out of us as we go through the school system. And like I said, that's changing. There are progressive schools that are realizing that, right and wrong and having to come up with the perfect answer is not necessarily always the right path. But I really want to encourage you in your quest to live an inspired life to look at those things that you can just take action on right now. And you have maybe no idea if it's the right action or not. But, nobody's going to die or get injured. And you might be, I don't know, maybe a little embarrassed. But even then, you can reframe that and say, I'm not embarrassed. I just tried something and it didn't work. Who cares? So what's the one thing that you can try right now and fall flat on your face if you have to, but love to hear the call-ins. What's the one thing you're going to try that you were afraid to try before? Thanks for listening.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.